Hello, leaders. I am Eric Thurwanger, the founder of Think Great and the author of the Think Great collection. I just want to welcome you and thank you for joining me and leaders from around the world on this call today. And I know why you're here. We know that there is no greater time than right now to step up as leaders. I've been listening to a lot of people share ideas on leadership right now, and what I'm hearing is a lot of hype, a lot of rah-rah, and a lot of theories on leadership. And I'm going to shoot straight with you today. You deserve more than that, and your teams need more than that. In the next 30 minutes, I'm going to share some strategies on enhancing our roles as leaders, how to increase engagement with our teams, and how to be consistently delivering great messages during bad times. Because I believe that times like these are when leaders are needed most. And we have dozens of industries on this phone call right now. But it doesn't really matter what industry we're in. What matters is, as leaders, we're all in the people business, and our people need us now more than ever. During this whole registration process for this webinar, I received hundreds of questions on how to be a better leader, how to do what my team needs right now. And my goal is to answer as many of those questions as I can during this webinar. In fact, once we're finished, I'm going to stay on for about 15 minutes. If you'd like to join me, I'm going to read some of the questions that were submitted and provide additional answers. Because leadership is challenging, even during the good times. Even when all the stars align, it can be tough to lead people. But this is the time, right now, this is the time as leaders we are expected to step up, because our entire playing field has changed. And for many of us, it can seem chaotic out there. It can seem like a huge fog rolled in, impacting our ability to navigate. It can make it hard to see. It can make it hard to know which direction we're going in, but not impossible. And today, I'm going to share some ideas on how to get through the fog by leading through chaos. And we are in the midst of the COVID-19 chaos. There is no doubt about it. According to Johns Hopkins University, we are nearing 1 million cases worldwide, with about 20% or more in the United States alone. There are even, according to the US Labor Department, 6.65 million people that have applied for unemployment, and the stay-at-home order for the states has been expanded through the month of April. In fact, Time Magazine actually just recently did an article, and they had an interesting perspective on the crisis. There it is. And they had an interesting take on this crisis. And what they said is the coronavirus outbreak has become the world's largest work-from-home experiment. The way I look at that as an experiment is when we're moving from ready to prepared. And I think that a lot of businesses were ready for work at home. I think that they were ready for remote workers, but the coronavirus outbreak has caused us to be in that prepared mode, and many were not prepared for it. Because there's a big difference in being prepared for something versus being ready for something. And I think there's more than going on than just a work at home experiment. I think that we're seeing a business survival experiment, a communication experiment happening, team building, culture experiments happening right now, sales experiments are happening right now, engagement experiments, planning experiments, vision experiments. And what does this mean? It means we are finding out if we are prepared. But the biggest experiment that I am encountering right now is a leadership experiment. And we are 100% being tested as leaders right now. And we have two choices to make. We can either pass or fail. And notice I didn't say options. You see, every leader on this call right now has to make the decision. Am I going to pass? Am I going to fail? Because we're being tested. So the big question for us right now is, how do we want to come out on the other side as leaders? In fact, we have to think about this question too. How do we want our teams to come out on the other side? And I'm going to say that right now, there is no greater time to sharpen our leadership blades than right now during this crisis. In fact, I believe there's two types of leaders, two types of leadership styles, if you will, or leadership blades. There's the leadership butter knife. And these people just spread things around, but they accomplish very little. And they're a dime a dozen, just like the butter knives that are in your drawer at home. They may hold a leadership position, but they do very little with it. But then there's the katana sword. And this is different. This gets the job done. It's sharp, it's precise, And it takes a certain type of forging to create this blade. There's a lot of heat and a lot of pounding that goes in to forging this style of sword. Right now, the worldwide outbreak of COVID-19 is the optimal forging opportunity for every leader on this call. I mean, if you think about it, what do we do with katana swords? We display them on a mantle. Have you ever seen a butter knife displayed on a mantle? I don't think so. The world needs sharp leaders right now. And this worldwide chaos has created the fire that we need to forge ourselves. The fire is ready for us. We have to ask ourselves this question: are we prepared to go into it? Now, I've experienced chaos before. And there's some things that we need to look at as we're going through this. Some key objectives when we go through chaos. We need to be the beacon of positivity. Our people need that now more than ever. We also need to promote forward thinking. We've got to get them talking and thinking about the future. We have to create a sense of urgency so we can eliminate complacency. We need to increase accountability so that we can stay on track with our goals. And right now, we need to celebrate accomplishments more than ever. And I know what you're thinking. These are vital to do no matter what the circumstances are like, but it is a priority for us as leaders to do this right now during the chaos. I know it's easier said than done, right? So I want to share some of the experiences that I've had with chaos and why these are so important. For starters, when I served in the Marine Corps, we experienced a chaos called Desert Storm. When I became the vice president of a media company in Santa Monica, we experienced a chaos called the recession. Even on the home front, we can experience chaoses. I've been through 4 battles of my wife's cancer and cardiac arrest with her. I was her caregiver through all of them, and so that would qualify as chaos. But just like every other chaos, every other crisis that happens, we will pass this. This will be over. But it is what we do during the chaos that will make the biggest impacts on our development as leaders, on the ability for our teams to stay engaged, and on the success of our organizations. You see, no matter what fog I was traveling through, whether it was the chaos during war, the chaos during a financial collapse, or the chaos during health challenges, I tapped into my military training to make it through that fog. And I know what you might be thinking. What's the biggest difference in how the military and the business sector handle chaos? Well, there's a pretty significant difference. From day one in the military, every single branch of service, they trained their team, their people, to go into chaos. I mean, they put us into it. They expect it to happen and they are prepared for it. But what I've experienced in the business sector is a little bit different. We train our people to avoid chaos, and they don't expect it to happen. And when it does, we are often left unprepared. But it's here. We are in the middle of chaos right now, and I want to help you to be more prepared so you can lead your people through it. The Chief of Naval Operations, Admiral Mike Gilday, just recently was quoted as saying, our top 2 priorities are taking care of our people and maintaining mission readiness. I love that. You see, they are prepared to take care of their teams and stay on track with their goals. I believe everyone on this call needs to have that same focus. We need to have our people and our mission as a focus right now. Now, I talked a little bit earlier about this situation, this whole crisis being like a fog. And when I began boot camp, our drill instructors made sure that we went through what they call the fog of war. It's a way of keeping us disoriented and confused, but still expecting the highest levels of participation and productivity. You see, the fog of war refers to the uncertainty in situational awareness experienced by those in military operations. In other words, it's how they operate during chaos. This time period tests our own capabilities, how we handle things under extreme circumstances. And I know you're with me on this. This is an extreme circumstance. Now, to train us to overcome obstacles, they actually put obstacles in front of us. We went through the gas chamber. We were on the rifle range. We had to deal with drill instructors yelling at us. We actually went through a course called the obstacle course, because if there's one thing I learned from my time in the military, it was this: obstacles make you greater, but you got to go through them. You cannot run away from them. We need to go into the fire, into the challenge, into those obstacles. We need to go into the chaos. Now, the success that the military has has been based on their ability to develop leaders at every single level. They plant leadership seeds in everyone top to bottom. Just imagine for a second. Imagine what your business could accomplish no matter what challenges you face, even COVID-19, if everyone thought and acted as a leader. The problem is, in the business sector, about 1% of our training time goes to leadership development. We need to plant leadership seeds now. We need to speak leadership. We need to act as leaders. We need to be the katana swords for our business right now. We cannot afford to wait until the chaos is over to start planting those seeds. Leadership development at all levels is more important now than ever. You see, we can't be leadership jellyfish. We can't be at the mercy of the current. We cannot be at the mercy of this crisis. We have to have a backbone, and we have to stand up so that we can raise our leadership bar. This is what we need to do. Every single person on this call has a leadership bar, and we are expected to raise it right now. And I know what you're thinking. What is our outcome for raising this bar? Oh, I'll tell you what it is, because I'm hearing it from leaders all over the world right now, and that is unification. We have an opportunity right now to provide higher levels of unification, and specifically in 3 areas. We need to unify our leaders, we need to unify our team, and we need to unify our message. This is absolutely critical. And I want to give you some strategies and techniques, even some exercises you can do to unify your entire organization right now. So as we talk about unifying the leaders, this is the most requested topic I am receiving right now for coaching sessions. People need to unify the leaders at the top, because during the good times, we may overlook small cracks in our leadership teams, little areas that are disconnected, but during chaos, these small cracks can seem like huge gaps, craters in the workplace. And the ripple effect of leaders not being on the same page is significant, especially during a crisis. It can lead to elevated levels of fear, worry, stress, and when leaders are not unified, it has a significant impact on their people. So how do we unify the leaders at the top? That's an amazing question, and I'm being asked it a lot. And I want to give you a couple techniques that you can use with your leadership team right now. For starters, if we cannot define something, it is extremely hard to achieve it. I want you to think about this with your leaders, because you're probably going to do a virtual call with them after this webinar, and I want you to ask them a question. What does it mean to be a leader here? You see, at Think Great, we've identified that. We have a definition, and we believe that a leader is a person who clearly outlines a specified destination and guides people there by course correcting and adhering to the greater purpose behind the goals necessary for success. You can use this definition. You can create your own. But I'm going to encourage you, have a definition that can unify your leaders so the expectations during chaos can be there. Now, once you have your definition, I would also suggest identifying your top 3 expected leadership traits. What's expected of every leader right now? The reason that many leadership teams are not unified right now is because they do not have any shared traits. And if we looked up the word trait, we're going to find that it's a distinguishing feature or quality or characteristic. When I was 18 years old and I entered the Marine Corps in boot camp, during the fog of war, they planted leadership traits with us, 14 of them. Justice, judgment, dependability, initiative, decisiveness. All 14 were an acronym. JJ did tie buckle. And they talked to us about that. Even though we were dirt bags in boot camp, they were developing us to think and act like leaders. Utilize this. Unify your leadership team with traits. You may come up with more than 3, but at least have 3 that you can start to talk about in meetings and start to use to guide your people and keep them on the same track. And here's another technique. Every single leader must be unified right now on the identity of the organization, not just what you do as a business or organization, but who you are. We need to be all in on our mission statement, our vision statement, our core values, and other types of identity like taglines or promises. But we have to be unified on these. These can no longer just be words on a website. We have to speak them into existence. We have to believe them and live them with our teams. In your meetings, in your virtual discussions with your people, speak more about who you are, not just what you do. Now, as we begin to unify our leadership team, it becomes imperative to unify the team Now, right now, we may have a revolving door of people leaving, maybe not even by their own choice. Maybe some of you on this call have had to let great people go, but you want them to come back. Whether people have left, are leaving, or you've had to cut them loose, we can unify the team and we can build a stronger team after all of this, and we will get our people back. You see, we can stop that revolving door as we start to unify the people in our organization. But how do we do it? We've got to talk more about teamwork. This is critical right now. And I know I can't hear you, but I want to do a little drill right now. On 3, let's all say teamwork. 1, 2, 3. Teamwork. All right. That felt great, didn't it? I think I actually heard some of you are so loud. There's a big difference between having a group and having a team. And every single leader that intends to make it through this crisis right now, to lead their people through chaos, you have to be able to identify if you have a group or a team. There's nothing wrong with a group, but this situation requires teamwork. When we look at people who function as a group, they act more as individuals. They're going to focus more on their personal objectives, and they're going to perform very much in the moment. These people are going to succumb to the fear, the anxiety, the uncertainty. Leaders, it is now more crucial than ever to build teams. But what makes up a team? What are the characteristics? A team acts as a cohesive unit. They look out for each other. They're focused on common objectives. They work together on specific goals or projects, and they perform for the future. Remember, leaders, part of our message is this will end. We will make it through. We will pass this test. We got to continue to get people to look into the future. When I showed up in the fog of war, this is what it looked like in boot camp about 12:30 at night. It was chaotic. It was uncertain. There was a lot of fear, but we showed up as a group. But we would not make it through this chaos as a group. Immediately, our drill instructors started to create a team environment. Yep, that's me right there. We started to work together. We started to look out for the person to the left and to the right. We started to work on common objectives, and we were performing for the future. We were trying to get better all the time. I believe everyone on this call has the opportunity to be greater, to be better in everything that we're doing. And in addition to forming the team, we have to give them goals. We need to set goals because goals give hope. Goals give an outcome for the future. They inspire us. They motivate us. Leaders, encourage your people to set personal and professional goals and work with them on the accomplishment of their short-term goals, their long-term goals. Don't underestimate this power. I did a webinar last week. We had hundreds of people on it, and I just shared my goal formula to set and accomplish goals no matter what circumstances you face. I even have a whole chapter in my leadership book just on identifying your priority goals. Never underestimate your role as a leader. So we need to unify our leaders first and foremost. We need to unify our team. And leaders, we need to unify our message. Communication is absolutely critical right now. This is our chance to take the microphone and send a message of empowerment and engagement and encouragement to our team. It's when they need us the most. If we think about great leaders from the past, people like Gandhi and Martin Luther King and Abraham Lincoln might pop into our heads. But the big question is, what made them great? Because I'm going to suggest that we can be great leaders too. It's not limited to the select few that might appear as great leaders on the web or in a textbook. We have the opportunity to be great leaders, and there's no greater opportunity than right now. But we have to ask the question, what made them great? And I know a lot of thoughts are going through our heads right now. But I'm going to tell you 3 things that I found that every great leader has in common. First and foremost, they go into the challenge with their people. They go into the fire. They go through that chaos with them. They do not turn and run from it. They also have a vision for the future, a better life to come, better opportunities, a greater world, and they stay true to that vision. But I believe one of the most important things that they all do, the thing that makes them great leaders, is they foster a lifestyle of leadership. I want you to think about this for a second. Think about the challenges that they went through. Think about the hardships, the chaos that ensued in their lives, and people voluntarily followed them. Leaders, your people want to follow you right now. They want to follow you through the crisis. They want to follow you as you lead them through the chaos. Be the leader right now that they want to follow, and don't underestimate the power of your message. Everything you say sends a message. Everything you don't say sends a message. They need to hear from you. And as we're talking about guiding people through the chaos, through the challenging times, through the fog, I want you to visualize something. How many of you have ever flown on a plane, opened up the window, and looked outside and saw nothing but fog? Now, I was an air traffic controller, so I understand how this works. But I want you to think about something. The fog that you're looking at out the window is the same fog that's in the front of the plane. Those pilots are blind. They are flying with lives at stake. They are flying that plane, and they will land safely. Why is that? Because they still take a leadership approach. They still focus on the message. The pilots and the air traffic controllers have constant communication. They are constantly giving each other instructions back and forth, talking to each other, communicating to each other through the fog, and they land safely. You see, it's always about communicating the right message at the right time. And we can make it through any amount of fog, any challenge, any circumstance. We can lead our way through this chaos right now. Now, I understand not everything is going to be a bowl of cherries. Sometimes it can be the pits. And perhaps this is how it feels right now for you and your team, like it's the pits. I would even venture to say, maybe it sucks right now. I'm just going to say it out loud. I'm going to make a bold statement right now. COVID-19 sucks. Can I get an amen on that? Anybody want to raise their hand and give me an affirmation on that? I bet it sucks for you too. All right. Yeah. Okay. I'm seeing hundreds of hands going up. So how does the military handle when things suck? And a lot of stuff sucks in there. A lot of stuff sucks in our jobs. A lot of stuff sucks in our projects and assignments that we were on. But they have a very important saying, because the message is important and they cannot ignore it. In fact, they even made a t-shirt about it. It says, embrace the suck. It's not going away. Complaining about it never helps. But our message does. Leaders, this time may suck right now, but this is the greatest time to forge ourselves and our teams as leaders to unify our entire organization. In fact, I want to share briefly a story about a famous Marine named Chesty Puller, the most decorated Marine in Marine Corps history. Those are all of his ribbons and medals that he earned. There was a time when there was a lot of fog, and it was in the 1950s, and it was in North Korea. It was in Korea at the Chosin Reservoir, and they were outnumbered. They were running out of food and ammo, and it was cold, and I mean freezing cold. And the leader decided to step up and share a message during the chaos. And this is what he said to them. He began with crystal clear communication. He addressed the elephant in the room. He talked about the fog right out of the gates. And he said, Marines, they are in front of us, behind us, and we are flanked on both sides by an enemy that outnumbers us 29-1. There is no doubt, leaders on this call, that is crystal clear communication. No misunderstandings, no misinterpretations. But he didn't end there. He had 7 words that followed that. And these 7 words helped to empower the people in his command. And he followed up with, we are outnumbered 29-1 with 7 words. He said, they cannot get away from us now. And in that time period when he said that, he had a lot of choices on what he could have said. He could have said, it sucks. He could have said, it was great serving with you. He could have said, I'm not getting paid enough for this. But he chose to empower his people. We have this ability, leaders. This is the greatest opportunity we have ever had in leadership. Stand up, raise up our leadership bar, and empower our people. And I want to share with you what one of those messages can be. We need to do it through personal communication, CPC. We can do this during work, virtually, at lunch, virtually, off-site, virtually, after hours, virtually. I can't tell you how many virtual happy hours are happening right now, but you could do a virtual discussion with your team. And I want to share something. There's a lot we could talk about, but one thing we should talk about is how they feel. The Atlanta Journal-Constitution did a survey, and they asked 19,000 people, workers, why do you stay at your job? And they expressed a feeling. 71% had the same number 1 answer. The other 29% had this answer as number 2 or 3, and that was to feel appreciated. Leaders, there is no greater time than to connect with your people during work, at lunch, off-site, after hours, all virtually, and let them know how much you appreciate them. I know the budgets may be tight right now, But the cost to show appreciation is zero. Zip, zilcho. Maybe the better question is to ask, what's the return on appreciation right now? It's absolutely priceless. You see, we have an opportunity to sharpen our leadership blade. We have an opportunity to create a greater organization. But I want to bring it all home with this. Most leaders, if you succumb to your circumstances, are not going to embrace the opportunity in front of you, not just to be a better leader, but to develop a better team. How many of you on this call right now feel that your organization can be better, can be greater? I'm seeing hands go up like crazy. This is one of the most powerful tools you have right now. It is more than just working together. Collaboration is unleashing the power of your people. Right now, your people have a ton of pent-up power that we can unleash through collaboration. And I want you to ask your teams this, 2 questions. Team, how can we be greater right now through this crisis? And how can we be greater afterward? And create an environment, a virtual environment if you need to have innovative ideas where they can share their insights on how to be better now and after the crisis. That is what we can do as leaders. You see, in just a few minutes, we're going to put up a link in the chat line, and we're going to give you a template for our think tank sessions. And I want you to use these. You can forward them, pass them along. I see a lot of hands going up. You're loving this. This is our give back to you. I want you to encourage your teams to collaborate, not to collapse right now, but to stand up. We need to all raise the leadership bar and collaborate with these innovative ideas. And I'm committed to helping you with this. Once you receive this template, you are more than welcome to reach out to me and ask for help, and I will help you with anything you need. Now, we have decisions to make. I believe that you could be one decision away from greatness. Studies show that we make 35,000 decisions a day, but I want to bring it all home with this. I want to encourage you to make the decision to lead. Be the leader your team needs. Raise the leadership bar. Unify your leaders. Unify your team members, and unify the message that's going out. You see, that unification process is key right now. We have an opportunity to bring it all together. And here's our give back to you, the think tank template. I have used this with organizations around the country to help bring their teams together to create unique and innovative ideas to be better, to be greater, and we can do this. So you'll see that going up. The other thing is next week, next Thursday at the same time, and we might do it an hour earlier perhaps, is that we've been asked a lot of questions on how to help sales teams and sales professionals during this time period. So you're going to see a link come up for Selling Through Chaos. That'll be coming up next week, and I'm going to be sharing strategies on how to navigate through this selling and buying environment. I just wanted to tell you how grateful I am that you took some time to be on this call. We're going to move into the Q&A section. I know some of you may have to get off the call right now, but you're welcome to stay with me. I wanted to share some of the other questions. I just wanted to tell you that this is your opportunity right now. This is not a challenge that we have in front of us as much as it is a stepping stone for us as leaders. We have the unique opportunity to become better leaders, to become greater. And so what I want to do just over the next few minutes is I want to actually share some questions that were sent in and answer them for you, because I know I couldn't get through everything in just 30 minutes. I see a lot of hands being raised. I see a lot of thumbs up out there, so thank you for that. Leaders, we're here for you. The Think Great team is 100% committed to you and your teams during this time period. So I want to share some ideas. I won't read off the names of the people that are sharing this, but I'm going to actually take a look at the chat line myself. I know a lot of comments going back. I appreciate all the thank yous. You're very welcome. I'm looking forward to seeing you guys again. But we did have one question here, the best selling practices you've heard during COVID-19. Well, we're answering that next week, so please stay tuned. But there is no time like the present to unify your sales team. I know that people are nervous right now, but we can unify them. How do we deal with a shrinking staff? That is one question that came through, and let me address this. Many of us are experiencing a shrinking staff, and so even though maybe it's temporary, some of the people, how many just by a show of hands have experienced a reduction in the workforce? How many of you have had the 30, 40, 50 hands going up? Hey, remember this. Here's how we deal with this. We know that things are going to come back. We know that things are going to be greater. We're going to encourage our people to collaborate. We can still do virtual calls with people, even if they're not currently working with us. We can still share a message of hope and inspiration and positivity with them. But the best way to deal with this is that as the staff is shrinking down, remember the staff that you do have, those team members, we can actually start to plant leadership seeds with them. I would rather have 2 people on my team who are thinking like leaders than 5 people who are not. You will accomplish more, you'll make a greater impact. It's better to go through the challenges with a team of people thinking and acting like leaders. So there is no greater time right now than to deal with the shrinking staff through leadership development. Encourage them to study leadership. I would even recommend, you can recommend my book to them, perhaps they already have it, but this can teach them how to think and act like leaders during the toughest times. All right, here's a great question. How do you stay authentic as a leader when you're stressed and panicked as well? How many leaders out there are experiencing a little stress? Okay, there you go. Well, for starters, according to the military, one of the greatest things that we can do to minimize stress is to set goals. So I'm going to encourage every leader on this team to focus more on goals. And the reason is, when we look at goals, we're looking into the future because these goals have not been accomplished yet. Goals allow us and our people to look up from the current challenge we're facing and look into an exciting and new future. I know it can seem tough and challenging. I know that we want to remain authentic, but we can have belief level in our goals. Goals provide hope and inspiration. Do not hesitate to set new goals with your team. You can set the short-term goals that need to be accomplished right now. You can also set short-term and long-term goals to happen after this crisis is over. Somebody asked me how I convey positivity in the face of the unknown. You see, what most people are afraid of is the unknown. And we already know the acronym for fear, right? False evidence appearing real. I do choose to believe that things will be better. The world has experienced many, many forms of chaos and crisis. This is our opportunity right now to tap into our own belief level and share this message that we will overcome, that we will make it through. So how do I do it with our team? Well, we do as much constant personal communication as we can. We share goals based on what we're working on now, what we're working on in the future. We've got to touch down more on our mission and our vision. These are all incredibly important things. Some things, the unknown, it doesn't exist yet. And I would look back on Martin Luther King. And we know what he said. He had a dream. You see, those were uncertain times. People were nervous and anxious and stressed and fearful. And so that dream didn't exist yet. He was sharing what was in his mind for a better future. Teams, leaders, we know we will make it through this, and we have to convey that message. All right, I love humor, and I really appreciate this. I did have one question. How many, by a show of hands, how many think humor is important right now? Okay. All right, so I'm going to answer this one. Somebody asked, what is my pet's first name? I think it's a very important question. My dog's name is Dolly, all 12 pounds of her. She's half Bichon, half Pomeranian. So thanks for asking and getting to know me. Okay, so here's another question. How do you keep people busy or productive, encourage initiative innovation when there isn't enough work to do? How many people are facing that right now? Keeping people productive when the workload may have dipped down. Yeah, a lot of hands going up. All right, this is why we have innovative think tanks. We've got to have collaboration right now. So this is a very relevant question. If we can be better and greater, we have to find the ways to get there. We have to set new goals through those collaboration sessions, and we have to outline what it's going to take to get there. In other words, every goal that we set is going to have tasks and objectives, and we can start working on those now. We can take this time to figure out how we can be better leaders, how we can be a better team, how we can accomplish our goals. And so we want to have our people focused on the positivity of creating a greater organization. It could be everything from, you may have time to make workflow better, policies and procedures better, communication could be better. Just sending out positive messages right now is huge. So finding that workload is going to be based on discovering the solutions that we need to create a better organization. Love that question. What's an uplifting message to give my staff that I am currently furloughing or temporarily laying off? Is that we believe you will be back. And we are doing this right now based on the crisis, not based on the person. As leaders, we need to let people know our intention is to bring them back. That is why we need to set goals and be innovative with our people. Every single leader on this team, if you have had to let people go, I know that can be painful. It can be one of the worst things that we're facing as leaders. So we have to send that message out that we do intend to get things going better than ever before. And we have to believe that. Hey, I'll be the first to tell you, we're completely virtual right now. Every single session that we had, all these events that were lined up have been postponed. And I understand that some were canceled based on timing, but they'll come back the following year. I am not living with a canceled mindset. I am living with a postponed mindset. There are other ways we can take action. I will get back to the face-to-face, the live events, the huge events, the conferences and the annual events. We will get there at some point again. But until then, we are going to be the best virtual professional and personal leadership development company, sales development company, and strategic planning company that we can be. So communicate the message that it will not last. You bring them back. Let me take a look here. How do we keep teams engaged while they're working remotely? Okay, so that goes back to the Wolfpack mindset. I'm not talking about the movie. I'm talking the Hangover movie. I'm talking about the strength of the pack is in the wolf, and the strength of the wolf is in the pack. And so how does the military keep people engaged when they're working remotely? And every branch has remote workers right now. They're called recruiters. And so how do you keep people engaged when they're not with the pack? You have to have more all hands meetings. I would encourage everybody on this call to schedule some virtual all hands discussions where you are sharing vision. You're talking about your mission. You're talking about the state of the union. You know, you've got to address the elephant in the room, but you've also got to address the steps that are you and your organization, your leaders are taking to prepare for everybody's return to greatness. This is huge. Remote workers, we need this just as much as everybody else. We've got to have things in place, set schedules so that we can communicate with our people. Don't leave it to chance. Remember, when times are good, people need to hear from you. When times are tough, they absolutely, without a question, need to hear from you. And I would focus on leadership on these remote calls too. All right, we'll do 2 more questions. And I'm also going to take a look, and I will do my best to get back to everybody on their questions. The best way to communicate with people while working at home. Okay, so we know it can be very distracting on the home front. I would say to set up a schedule, a weekly time with your leaders so that they know what to expect from you from a communication standpoint and with your team in general. The fear of the unknown is very, very powerful. And the best way to communicate the direction we're heading in is through our ability to connect with our people. So set these sessions up, schedule them in for the next month. They need this. This will give them stability. This will give them certainty. And leaders, they need to hear your confidence. The best way to communicate with people working at home is to communicate often and communicate confidently with your people. Continue to share that vision. All right, we got 1 more here. How do you handle an unmotivated manager? All right. We have to realize right now that this chaos is going to hit people in many different ways, on the home front and in the workplace. We need to have more communication with people on what the expectations are. Leaders, this is the time to raise the bar. This is the time to make these expectations crystal clear on performance, on attitude, on what is expected of every single leader. Don't hesitate to tell your supervisors, your managers, your directors, your VPs, your C-suite, the impact that they're having. This is critical. When we lead through chaos, everything we do is magnified. Everything we do great is magnified, and every time we drop the ball, it's magnified. So an unmotivated manager is sending a ripple effect through the entire organization. They need to understand that impact. We have to share it with them, and they need to be accountable for it. Express to your people, this is the best opportunity to step up. This is the time to be recognized as a leader. I have hundreds of more questions that I could go through. I encourage you to reach out to us. You can email me directly at Eric, E-R-I-K, at thinkgreat90.com. I am happy to help you and your organization. I'm happy to help out your teams. But I want you to lead through chaos confidently, concisely, and consistently. We can get through this. This will not last forever. We will come out stronger on the other side. And I just want to say how much I appreciate you for being on this call, for scheduling some time to be with us today. We are here for you, and I'm here to help you, guide you and your teams through this chaos. I want to just say thanks again. I appreciate everything you're doing out there. We are all in this together, and we will all get through it together. Have an amazing rest of the week.